Rogue Radio. Now available on Mixcloud at mixcloud.com/Rogue Country. Keep it rogue.
Hey guys, what's going on? I am made up to announce that the last episode of Rogue Radio hit 51 in the rock charts and 17 in the blues charts on Mixcloud, and that is all down to you guys listening. So thank you so much for helping us continue to build this platform for UK and international artists to get their music out there. So head over to mixcloud.com/Rogue Country and keep on supporting the show. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Today's episode is also brought to you by The Next Life, my debut album. It has almost been a year since it was released, and I can't thank everyone enough for picking up a copy so far. Everyone who supported it, everyone who shared, I really literally couldn't have done it without you. So thank you so much. If you haven't listened to The Next Life, if you're new to the podcast, if you're new to my music, I'm going to drop a little teaser for you now.
Yes, I drive through this memory of what a town's supposed to be. Boarded houses, broken windows, reflecting parts of me. This is where I was born, but it's not where I'll die. That's the funny thing about life.
And that is the track Rock Ferry about my hometown here on the Wirral. You can go listen to that wherever you want. If you head to mike333west.com, that'll take you to Apple, Spotify, Amazon. I've got it on vinyl, a Bandcamp, a CD. Wherever you'd like to hear it, we've got you covered. But without further ado, let's get down to this podcast. I am so happy to have the Hippies and Cowboys guys on this podcast. I love their podcast. I love what they're doing, is providing a platform for new country artists, and it's country artists they respect as well. I've found a lot of great artists from them, and it's also, we've shared a few of the same guests. If you're listening to this episode for the first time because of the Hippies and Cowboys podcast, check out the back catalogue of Into the Van. We've had Bella White on, Charlie Marie, Charles Wesley Godwin. We've had some great UK acts on as well, like Beans on Toast. We're both trying to do the same thing. We're trying to provide a platform for these artists that we love and respect, and I think Hippies and Cowboys do a great job of it all. And it was great to get to chat to them about, their methods, their thought process, their kind of backstory and how they met. And it was just a really interesting talk that I hope you really dig. Without further ado, this is episode 35 of Into the Van with Mike West and the Hippies and Cowboys podcast. Welcome to Into the Van with me, Mike West. Cool, man. So we're rolling, and I can't thank you enough for making the time to do this. But one of the things, I was listening to your Charlie Marie podcast today.
Oh, yeah.
And the question that fucked me up the most was, how do you prove you're from the future if you go back in time? And that's what I've been stuck on for the entire day. And I was wondering, are you including prep time into this?
Prep time. Oh, so do I get to prepare?
So if you're going into the future, if it's
right.
many years advanced, it's could I make a microchip or learn how to make a microchip? And then when I get back to wherever, I can then build this microchip and start the technological revolution.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I guess. I think that's fair game.
Usually I get to say you don't get to take any objects. That's because I think I said that.
But if you learn how to build the microchip out of whatever,
right,
then you go back in time and then you can assemble those materials.
Right.
True. Yeah.
So saying he's not taking an object, he's taking knowledge.
Right.
Which is fair.
That assumes that you'll have the materials available.
Yeah, it depends on the time period as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then I was thinking as well, I've got guitars tattooed on my arm and stuff. So it's if I went before a flying V was invented, I could go and patent it. And then
that's not a bad idea.
Or prep time, you can get a whole memento style thing of future things tattooed onto you and then go back.
There you go.
Not a bad strategy. I don't mind that.
Yeah, the tattoos. I think that's the way to go though, is doing stuff, inventing things before they're invented.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Well, who was it who said songs? Wasn't it Leroy? I think
Leroy
he would just go back and write a song that was going to be a hit because he, steal somebody's song basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard the band Flight of the Conchords?
I don't think so.
The New Zealand, like it's, do you know, like the guys from What We Do in the Shadows, like Jermaine Clements, is it, who did like the vampire film and the vampire show on FX?
I don't think so.
Before,
I don't think.
and he did like he's friends, or he works with Taika Waititi, who did Thor Ragnarok and stuff. Like they did Flight of the Conchords first, which was on like HBO like years ago, and they did a song called Bowie to Bowie, and like the setup for it live was they went to a party and took acid and ended up traveling back in time. And when they got back to the future, they realized Bowie's guitarist had stolen a load of songs from Brett. But he was like, but to be fair to the guitarist, you were playing Bowie's own songs back to him. And he's like, yeah, I brought a chord book with me. It was a big help. And he just like left a chord book for Bowie's songs to him.
Huh.
That's not a terrible strategy. I don't know. That's it's a tough question. It really throws people for a loop a lot of the time. Leroy handled it pretty well. Charlie was pretty confused, but actually like that one was weird because I've asked that question I think twice since I asked Charlie, and Charlie was actually the first time I asked that question, but it was recorded like a month ago. So then like I've asked it a few times, so then that got kind of all fucked up. But
Is that a White Claw?
yeah, it is.
You dirty dog.
Yeah. But going from like the podcast, you're 86 episodes in now. When I was listening to the Charlie Marie episode, like I had her on my podcast a while back, and she's got such an interesting perspective with like the meditation and her perception. Have you picked up things from your guests that you've then taken into your own like perspectives and lives?
Yeah, that's interesting because like I mean, I've tried like I'm not a big into meditation. Like I've definitely tried to do it before. I'm not very good at it. But like I guess I mean it wasn't really from her, but the guy who told me to like try it one time was actually Blake Berglund. If you're familiar with him, he came on. I mean, he was our first guest on episode 3. But it was just kind of in a conversation with him after that he kind of told me. So I guess like, you know, like there's plenty of stuff like that you can take away from a guest, like even after the fact, if you develop like a relationship with them in that sense where you're going to talk to them afterwards. But, you know, I mean, I can't think of one off the top of my head that I've just straight from a podcast type thing. That one didn't even get released. We had Dalton Domino on and he told me, and he'd said, because we asked him, what's an unwritten rule of the road? And he said, a good trick is to go eat free breakfast in a hotel.
Right. Not your hotel.
You just act like you know. Yeah.
Jesus, please.
Just walk in with confidence.
Yeah. Just act like you belong, right? And you just go sit down and eat the free continental breakfast and you leave. I'm like, it's genius.
That it is so genius that you can't believe you haven't thought of that before.
Right? Yeah.
The level of confidence you need to walk into a hotel to take a breakfast as well is something that I don't even think I could do. I'd be stood outside the hotel for like 10 minutes, like psyching myself up to go in and be like, do I really want this croissant?
Yeah, like it's a shitty breakfast too. Like it's like, yeah, if you're lucky you get a croissant and like, you know, maybe some of those eggs from like a carton, but
fruit roll-ups in the little cardboard box and
the yogurt.
Yeah. And like,
is it worth it?
Yeah. And taking it back, obviously you're 86 episodes in now. How did you guys like meet? Because you're in Iowa and Canada. Where did you first like collide?
Twitter.
Yeah.
Do you remember the tweet or what was it that brought you star across?
You want to tell the story, Mike?
I'll tell it. So I guess I had a Twitter account for music with Real Country Revival. Garrett had a very similar thing going on in Alberta, and we had a mutual follower that said, you know, hey, you guys should do a podcast together. So there's that specific tweet, and then Garrett like tagged me in it, and he's like, what do you think? And then I said, sure. And yeah, 86 episodes later,
we
closing in on 100
times and talked about it and like figured out, okay, like we need to buy a mic. We figured out how to, you know, like I sent out a tweet. I was like, somebody shoot me a graphic designer to make us a cover photo or whatever.
Right.
Guy hit us up. We paid for the cover art and figured out how to like put a podcast up on the internet, I guess, which wasn't hard. Just Google that. got our mics, and away we go. That's about it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. And who were like your podcast influences? Like when you were like listening to them before you started them, and then who were you not necessarily trying to emulate, but being inspired by when you first started out?
Like I listened to it. Or sorry, go ahead, man.
I was gonna say I'd never listened to a single podcast before.
I'd listened to a ton of podcasts, and that's why I was so excited when he said that, because I was like, oh, that's a great idea. We totally should start a podcast. And then, like I said, I'd listened to a lot of Joe Rogan at that point. I mean, he's nowhere near really what we do, but it's just a pretty well-known podcaster.
Yeah, he's just not near as good as us.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I've had to turn Joe down a couple times. It's just he keeps bothering us, but it's cool, man. We'll fit him in there at some point. The first person actually that I hit up when we decided to actually do it and kind of decided how we wanted to do it, because we definitely wanted to play music on the show, so we could kind of all these artists that we're talking about, we wanted to be able to let people listen. I feel like there's maybe could be kind of a disconnect on an episode, say, where we don't actually play the song, but we're talking to this artist. It's different for people when it's right there in your face kind of when we play that song on the show. So I hit up WB Walker because I listen to his show all the time. And he was so helpful, and he's, we're good friends now. But I'm really thankful for him at the start, because he kind of explained, how to go about doing that, and, gave us a lot of advice at the start. And so his show, obviously, because his obviously isn't interview based really, except for his video show now. But that was kind of, I think Mike and I both said, we were like, well, if we could be, kind of like WB's show where we can play people music, but also kind of just more conversation, because maybe, and we never really even planned on having guests at the start. We were like, oh, maybe once in a while, but it was mostly just gonna be me and Mike just talking shit. That was it.
Yeah. I think once we started having guests, though, there's similar podcasts that have guests on in the Americana Red Dirt music world, and they can be kind of similar and definitely same kind of goals as us in a certain sense, but they're very Q&A based, and that's not what we want to do. We want people to get to know artists as people. And that's what we want to do also. We're just fans coming in. We're a fan of this artist. We're talking to them as fans. So I think that conversation based thing is, and just we're bullshitting, having a couple beers. That's what we want to do. And it's nothing fancy. It's not a journalistic take on things. It's just, let's let people get to know artists and then also show them their music. So that's kind of, I guess, how we do it a little bit different than other people too. But
I love Sturgill Simpson so much more after I listened to his episodes with Rogan, and they're just sitting there talking about fucking eating edibles and Bigfoot and stupid shit, where it's like I'm never gonna hear Sturgill talk about that shit anywhere else. But it's because he's in a comfortable situation where he's just talking to somebody who's a fan of his music. He's not talking to Rolling Stone or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, man. I kind of fell out of interest with Rogan's podcasts when he started moving to Texas and stuff.
Yeah, same. I haven't listened to him forever. But
the ones I always enjoyed with Rogan were the musicians ones, like Gary Clark Jr. and stuff, because if it's in Rogan's wheelhouse, he kind of dominates the conversation. But with musicians, he doesn't really know shit about the industry or the process. Right. So he lets them talk, and his questions are quite interesting. The Black Keys episode was phenomenal when it's talking about Spotify and cutbacks from the labels and stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you're definitely right. He definitely does dominate the conversation when it's something that he's super in. Obviously he's interested in music, but something that he's really knowledgeable about. But in those situations, you're totally right. He just sits back and wants to talk to him and asks questions that probably I would ask.
Yeah, because that's the thing, man. Because when I started this podcast, it was the same kind of thing. I wanted to try and do the Rogan-esque, where it's not really specific questions about process, which I do like to get into for my own curiosity as a songwriter, but it is just more just shoot the shit and see what happens, because I'm used to the formulaic process from like radio interviews and stuff, and what podcasts do and what you guys do so well is you let people expand on topics and explore directions that you wouldn't get the time of day to do on radio or print, where it's just like bullet point answers basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks. Yeah, like a lot of artists are, especially, and I mean, Mike and I really haven't experienced this too much because we don't interview a lot of like artists that are signed to like big labels or anything. But they, you know, a lot of artists like have, you know, publicists or PR teams or whatever kind of telling them how to answer shit. Because and a lot of the time, like, you know, I've heard from other people like some of these artists, when they go into these interviews, they know what the questions are going to be already, so they prepare for them in that sense. Where it's just like, I don't know. I think like we've got nothing but good feedback from the artists on what we do, because they're like, oh, like this was refreshing. Like they realize about, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes in that we're just talking. Like afterwards, they're like, oh, like that was fun. You know, like let's do that again. That was great. Like I think they appreciate the fact that we're not just kind of ramming the same cookie cutter questions down their throats every time, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's such a help for us, I think. And it's weird when you have to kind of control your answers, because one of my biggest influences is like the Hot Ones YouTube show with Sean Evans, which again, it peels back the kind of bullshit from like the late night talk shows and stuff. Cause I only ever really see them on YouTube. Obviously I'm in the UK, so I don't see them when they come out on TV or anything. So I only get the clips, but everything just seems so contrived and pre-prepared. Cause it's even when it's like, would you play a song and they pull a guitar out the back or some shit and everything. But like with Sean Evans, it like strips it away with the hot sauce and the spice. And with podcasts, it kind of strips away that bullshit when you've got engaged fans asking the questions and actually trying to, you know, coax out answers and things that not meant like you can just like bullshit for a while, which you can't do in any other real format.
And that kind of, I talked about this a bit on the podcast I went on earlier today, where it's like, you know, we like to shit on like pop country and like the mainstream, like it's fun to do. But one of the things that like we're shitting on is the authenticity. Like there's nothing authentic about the mainstream media. So like if we're going to put out content, whether it's podcasts or videos or whatever we're doing, like, well, we have to be sure that we're being authentic about what we're doing and not like, you know, we can't have it be too showy. Like, you know, it's got to be genuine, because otherwise why, like, we can't sit here and like make fun of people who aren't making authentic music and then put out some bullcrap that's you know, staged and, you know, it's not authentic. So we have to be sure that we're doing, you know, the things that we would expect out of artists, you know.
And we've tried to get like our listeners and stuff more involved too. Like now that, you know, we got the Patreon going, shameless plug for the Patreon. You can go, you can sign up for the Patreon, and then like we let everybody know on the Patreon like who's coming on before they come on. We'll be like, okay, recording tonight with Charlie Marie, send in your questions, and you know, give them a chance to ask a question and give them a shout out, and it makes them, you know, feel like they're kind of involved too. Cause I mean, we're fans just as they are. Like that's kind of, I don't know, like it's funny, like I'll have conversations with people now and they're like, so like, you know, is it cool like that people know who your guys' show are? I'm like, I don't think at any point during all these 86 episodes have I ever thought that our show is even a big deal yet. Like I don't feel like we're, you know, like I don't feel like people know who we are, but it is and that's why it's like, well, my question matters just as much as somebody else who listens to every single podcast. You know what I mean? So why not give them a chance to ask what they want to ask, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense, man. Did you ever like notice a change? Obviously you say you don't kind of view yourself as making waves, but I consider you, obviously I'm in fucking Liverpool in England, and I know about you guys and wanted to chat to you enough to, you know, stay up till 11 o'clock at night, way past my bedtime to get to
Is
chat
it 11
to you
there?
folks. Yeah.
It's 11, dude. It's not 9. We're too late.
Shit, I'm sorry.
It's okay, but have you guys, like, when did you kind of notice people starting to listen and getting, you know, a loyal listener base? When did you start realizing that shift was, you know, you weren't just speaking into the void?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was probably around, you know, like even after our first 10 episodes, there was definitely enough people. And I don't know if there was ever a point where it was just like, oh shit, like people are paying attention, but it was just really cool to like especially after we started to do more of the interviews rather than just me and him talking, when it started to be like more interview based, and that's kind of how the path we went down. Like it was always cool because like every guest you get, you're probably going to pull 2 or 3 more people in, you know, every single time, because they're just like, oh, cool. Like you had, like, I don't know. I think for me, when I started to maybe notice a big change was around episode like 8 to 10, after we probably like our 4th or 5th guest maybe. And it was like, you know, more people, because then when it's different when they have a guest on, because then now they're going to come on social media and start commenting on it and like kind of asking questions and like saying, oh, I love this or that. Like, I don't know. It just feels like, yeah, like, I don't know if there was a single point where it was like, oh shit, like this is kind of going to be a big deal or whatever, but there's definitely, you know, it just grows every single time you do one, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think the biggest thing to think is like, oh, we're trying to get like a couple guests lined up. Like we've never done this. We have no reputation. Like, how do you get somebody to come on to a podcast they know nothing about and it's brand new? Like, that's not easy, you know? So like we had a few connections made, but once we got a couple people in, and, you know, they had a good time, and then like, it's a tight industry. It's a tight community in the music. So like once you get a couple good ones under our belt, you know, people talk, and then, you know, you kind of notice a difference. Like it's easier. People start reaching out to you more, and it's just easier to get guests on. But I don't know, there was a couple months ago where our views or our listens or downloads or whatever kind of like doubled in like a month's time span. I still haven't figured out why.
I would say around like November.
So like
it was
at
like
that point,
kind of
it's
November,
like,
December. It was like, oh shit, like pretty much shit started to just double kind of out of nowhere. And I have no clue what it was that prompted that. I don't know. I really don't. I can tell you at the start though, like how fucking excited we were to get like our first guest. Cause like, I said there, Blake was our first guest on the show and on episode 3, but like he had kind of told us before we even started it that he would be the guest. So we knew he was going to kind of come on, because we, Mike and I both had, kind of talked to Blake about it before we even started the podcast. So he was in from the start. But when we got Vincent Neil Emerson was our first guest that we had actually like reached out and then got a response from and like lined up. So we were like super excited for that. Like I remember being so nervous, like even nervous for like the Blake one, where it was like, and I'd talked to Blake on Twitter plenty of times, but it was just like, you know, like learning how to interview. I've never interviewed somebody before or even tried to do something like that ever. So it was,
I still distinctly remember my phone ringing with the Saskatchewan number, and it was Blake. Like I knew it was Blake, and like just being so nervous, just to pick, like it wasn't even the interview. I was just like scared to answer the call. It's like, I know Blake, but I was like so nervous just to answer that phone call.
Yeah,
but it's just weird. You get more comfy as it goes. Like I don't know.
Do you still get nervous with like guests, or is there like certain ones that come through? Because I know like I'll be talking to people I know, and then like maybe a guest that I've been a fan of for years, like I had Danny Vaughan from Taiketo, who I've been a fan of since I was a kid, and I had him and I was like, oh shit, and I was like prepping and getting quite nervous before and things. Do you guys still feel that way with guests?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it kind of depends on who it is. The nerves and comfort level is definitely like, you get used to it, and like I feel like if Sturgill came on the show next week, we'd be fine. Like I wouldn't be like absolutely like shitting my pants. But like for the ones that really get you nervous are like ones like Chris Knight, people who like don't have any interviews out, and like the ones that they do, like someone will ask him a big long question and he's just like, and then that's it. Now you talk again. And it's like, how do we handle this? So like, then you have to prepare, like, you have to over prepare, and like, you're just worried about how it's going to go. So I guess that's the only thing, like, you just don't know what you're going to get with some of those people. And like how's the conversation going to flow? Things like that, definitely you get a little bit nervous about for me, but yeah.
Absolutely. When you don't know how it's going to go, because like, that's a great answer, because sometimes you can go and find other podcasts that somebody's been on, right? And so then you kind of get a feel for how they talk, kind of how they answer stuff, how they if they are talkative or if they're kind of like he said, just going to give you kind of a shorter answer. So, but I find it goes a lot better, or like, I don't really I wouldn't say I get nervous anymore. I would say I get, I would say I replace like nerves at this point with like over preparation. So like, instead of being nervous, I'll just like prepare like 2 pages of shit that I don't even need, but it's like just there just in case like we start to hit a rough patch, and it's like, okay, like here, let me pull something out of the notes I made here, but I find a lot of the time I'm able to kind of, I think it's more of less of a nerves thing, but it's more like breaking the ice with them. Yeah. Because a lot of the time, what I'll do is I'll get them to give me a call like a couple days before, or even the day of, before we get on the air, and just like, because we record remotely, like off of Zoom, so they need a separate kind of recording device. So I'll get them on there and like get them on a phone call and just say, hey, how's it going? Kind of shoot with the shit with them, even for 5-10 minutes, and kind of just explain their recording process and pick, decide which songs we're going to play. Even if it's something as simple as that, like, it's way cooler than when we get on the call, because they already like have talked to me, and it's just like almost like you kind of broken down that barrier already. And then when you get on, it's just go time. Like, it's definitely tougher when we get on, say we deal with a publicist the whole time, or a PR person, or whoever, manager, whoever it is, not directly to the artist. We deal with them the whole time. And then like, like Morgan Wade, for example, we didn't talk to her at all before we got on that podcast. It was just like talking to her, I believe it was her publicist or something. Anyway, and then we get on the air, and it's like, boom, there you're on with Morgan, like never talked to her, met her, nothing. So it's just like, oh, hey, like, then you got to break that ice for 5 minutes before you actually start, right? And that's definitely harder, but
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Like, obviously this podcast is called Into the Van because I'm meant to record out of my camper van that I tour in.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic kind of put pay to that for a while, but I had like 3 or 4 queued up where I did talk into the van. And a part of like my mentality once the pandemic hit and I had to do remote was to be like, I'm not going to interview anyone remotely I've not met face to face, because I didn't want that barrier. But then it was, I don't want to use up all the people that I know that I could, like, once the pandemic lifts, if someone's half an hour away, I don't want to waste kind of that conversation through Zoom. So then it was, who do I respect and who am I a fan of that I can kind of hit up in America or wherever that I may not get a chance to for a while. And that's kind of what I've been doing now. But it is one of those things about worrying to, break the ice and stuff. And obviously you two are absolutely lovely gentlemen, so it's been no issue. But with your preparation and stuff, how often do you go in with like notes, or when do you start preparing for a podcast?
It's become less and less, at least for me. I don't know.
Sure depends.
Dude, like I'll give you a perfect example of this. Like when we had Cameron Duddy on from Midland, I prepared like 2 pages of notes on like, their background, his personal background, the band's kind of their stepping stones along the way to like where they are now, kind of all this stuff. Like I literally do like 2.5 pages of notes of shit. And then like, cause like I'll prepare notes and then I'll kind of write out word for word some good questions that I think of ahead of time. We get on there. I bet you I got through like maybe a quarter of those notes. Like everything else just was like completely untouched because the conversation never went there and I wasn't going to force any of it in. So like, I don't know, it's a fine line to walk. Like these days, like I kind of just write down simple stuff that I need to know, like the names of their albums, the names of the songs we're going to play, like word for word, so I don't fuck them up, right? And then just kind of maybe 1 or 2 questions that I definitely want to get in there. And then it's like, all right, rock and roll, let's do it. Like, try to just be as loose with it as possible, but I don't know. Sometimes going blind too. You're just like,
I've had blank pages.
Yeah.
Going in blank pages, but I mean, not without like listening to their music and like having like you have an idea. Like not everything needs to be written down, but then like when like Garrett said, like you write down the songs, like because you don't fuck them up, but like stuff like that has to be written down. But like as far as questions go, it's like, okay, I know this about them. Like, let's like, you know, that you want to get there. Like, it's almost better just to be like a little bit more free, I think, than to be like stressed out about getting to your notes.
Yeah.
But
I'd say that's definitely the research, is listening to the music.
Yeah. There are some bands that we've had on where it's like, I wish I had more time to listen to the music before, because a lot of these are like unreleased music that we got sent, and it's like, I wish I had like, you know, like 49 Winchester, like they sent us their CD afterwards, and that thing didn't leave my car for 2 months. Like I wish I would have talked to them after I already had that CD, you know, because it would have gone, like I would have had more to say, you know, but like instead it's like kind of like snippets before it. So there's things like that. But yeah, the music's the best prep that you can ever have, is just listening. But
definitely.
And going onto the music, obviously you guys host like the country music podcast, but what's your origin story with country music? Did you guys grow up on it, or did you come to it later in life? And you know, who were the artists that really like hooked you in?
I have a love-hate relationship with country. I grew up with it, you know, with like 90s to early 2000s country. It's what was always playing in my dad's truck. And I grew up on a farm, so like that's playing. Then I went to college. I didn't like being like, I hid in college that I was like from the country, because like I want to fit in, that kind of thing. Then I also grew to realize that I didn't like anymore what was on the radio. So like the artists I grew up with, you know, are your Alan Jacksons, Dwight Yoakams, like that. But I'd say if you're talking about an artist that hooked me in, it's your Turnpike Troubadours and Whiskey Myers. You know, that those are the ones that like kind of opened my eyes to like, there's a lot more out there, and kind of brought me back to country music and what I think of as country music today versus just what's on the mainstream. So those artists took me in, and then you go down the rabbit hole and you discover everybody else.
I got pretty much the exact same story, really. I mean, you know, you go through, you know, I think I've had this conversation with a couple different people, and it's just like, you know, when you go into college or like your late years of high school, you're just kind of listening to whatever everybody else is listening to, you know, you're trying to be cool, you're trying to fit in, right? So like when I went to college, I played basketball in college, so I was listening to a lot of like hip hop music. I wasn't listening to country music. And same thing as Mike, like I moved to, I'm from a town of about 900 people, and moved to the city where it's like, you know, I already assume people have preconceived notions about who I am and what I'm about. So I didn't really want to, you know, and again, same as Mike, like I didn't really like the shit that was on the radio anymore. So I was just, you know, listening to Willie Nelson and shit on my own time, Robert Earl Keen, because like my dad was a professional saddle bronc rider. So he rodeoed all through the States, like when I was young and stuff. And so, but he's a big Robert Earl Keen fan. So I was kind of introduced to Texas country, you know, through him, and, you know, obviously then like Mike said, your radio country from the 90s and early 2000s, that type of thing. And that's not so bad. I don't mind any of that stuff at all. And then I listened to a lot of like real old country, like George Jones, Merle Haggard, and that type of stuff, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, because my grandparents are really, really big into music. And so when I was young, like I thought that was pretty cool, because grandpa thought that was cool, you know? So, but yeah, like definitely stepped kind of away from country music for a few years, because I was just like, well, you know, I don't really like what's on the radio, and nobody else is going to like listening to Willie Nelson with me. So
we didn't know. We didn't know anything else was out there. You know?
Yeah, exactly
so
right.
Many people that just don't, you know, I don't like what's on the radio. So they have no idea what else is out there. So it's like, I don't like country anymore.
I was driving to a party one night with a buddy, and he's like, you ever, you listen to country, don't you? I was like, yeah, like a little bit. I was like, kind of the older stuff though. He's like, you'd love Coulter Wall. And he played me Sleeping on the Blacktop. And I was like, holy shit. And then like for the next like 2 weeks, that's all I listened to was just Coulter Wall. And I was playing Sleeping on the Blacktop actually at a party that I was at like a few weekends later. And my buddy's like, oh, you know who Coulter Wall is? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, you'd love Tyler Childers. And then he played me White House Road, and now I'm sitting here. So
and then they what's the song they do at
Fraulein.
Fraulein. Then you hear Fraulein for the first time. And I think everybody knows the first time they listen to Fraulein with Coulter and Tyler comes in, you know exactly where you're at. I was on my way to Lincoln, Nebraska. My buddy played that for me, and Tyler comes in. I was like, man, that sounds like Tyler Childers' licks on the guitar. And he just looks at me, he's like, oh, you wait. And then Tyler comes in. Man, distinctly remember. Like, I could almost tell you the mile marker. We were just past the McDonald's play place with the ball pits. Man, it was, yeah.
Well, you, man, how'd you get into this stuff?
It's weird for me, like, being from the UK, there's a history of country music, but it dissipated. There was like a strong country music presence in like the 50s and 60s. And like, I was kicking myself. Obviously, I wasn't born then, but I was going back and researching, and I found out that Buck Owens had played like the Liverpool Philharmonic, which is like 10 minutes away from me. And I was like, holy shit. And you see all that kind of stuff. But I grew up on like rock from my dad and Motown from my mom. Yeah. So the kind of high school, college years, where you discover music that you went into or you weren't brought up on, was when I found like country and blues.
That's cool.
So that was how I came into it. And then I kind of heavily got into it through like the Gems on VHS sessions.
Yeah.
And then it was Tyler and Coulter, and I got to see Tyler and Coulter when they came over here like 2017, 2018, when no one really knew them. And it was like small venues and things. That's awesome. It was, I came in like, I still like every year I have to sit down and listen to like the 6 Johnny Cash American recordings LPs. Like I just have to make time for it one evening every year to just listen to them. Like I'm just like, that's,
oh yeah, nice, man.
Yeah, that's like the guy that got me into it. And then it was just digging deeper, and it was the same. Like, obviously piracy is wrong, but when I was a kid, what I used to do when I was obsessed with metal is I'd go on the Wikipedia and I'd look at the subgenres, and just whatever like the first 4 bands that were mentioned on a Wikipedia page, I'd like Google and then download them from LimeWire. And it was the same kind of thing where it's like I got into country and just started like digging. And because of how everything's like recorded, like you've got the Johnny Cash show and you've got all like the Buck Owens performances and stuff. Because I remember I found George Jones through the Johnny Cash performance he did with White Lightning and the Races On.
Yeah.
So that to me was just digging. And then it was seeing all the new stuff that's coming from the States, and that's influence in the UK and Europe has been like a really interesting thing in say the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And like you can kind of see that Tyler and Coulter were the catalyst for them to almost be mainstream, but it's obviously not mainstream in the radio or pop sense.
Right. It's addicting too, man. It's super addicting. Once you find one and you're like, holy shit, this is out there. This is you know, like, because like I said, like I was listening to old stuff. Like I was like, oh yeah, like Robert Earl Keen's, you know, he's still out there. Willie Nelson's still out there, but they're like kind of past my time. Like I said, I was like, I don't think anybody else in, like, at least at the time, I was like, I don't think anybody else like my age around where I live, especially in Canada, like is really listening to much of what I'm listening to, if I am listening to country music. And then you find these young guys who are Coulter and Tyler out there doing this thing. And it's like, holy shit, like this is happening right now. Like, you know, Coulter's my age, man. We're the same age. I'm just like, this is alive right fucking now. And, you know, like more people ought to realize that this is out there, you know?
Yeah.
It's always fascinating. It's always fascinating to hear like how people in Europe find this music, because it's hard enough for me to find it, and it's in my backyard. You know, and there's a lot of people around here have no idea. You know, so it's cool to hear like the European side of things. You know, like but people come over there to play like once every 3 years. Like, you know, you're not gonna find out about it through live music. Like they're, you know, I'll just go catch a random show. Like that's not gonna happen. So that's always cool. But yeah. What was Garrett? Garrett, what'd you just say? So I had something to add on to that. I forgot.
Oh, I don't know. I was talking about it's addicting. Once you find one, you want to find more.
Yeah.
It's kind of where
I don't know. I lost my thought. Yeah. That's all right.
Like speaking of like remembering like exactly where you were, I remember I saw Blackstone Cherry over here in like 2009, 2010, and they came on the stage to Ghost of the Mississippi by the Steel Drivers. And I'd never heard that song before. And I remember distinctly being in the crowd, texting myself the lyrics I could make out. to then go home and like Google.
You didn't have the Shazam app at that point?
No, it was like I was just texting, like trying to work out what he was saying, and then that was like I found like Chris Stapleton and the Johnson Brothers before he brought out his solo stuff.
Oh, Ghost of Mississippi. That's a great tune.
No kidding.
That's the other thing, man. People need to dig into Steel Drivers and Johnson Brothers. No, but not enough people know about that. A lot of people know about Chris Stapleton. They don't know about those two.
Yeah, it's crazy with like how big Stapleton got like so quick that the Steel Drivers and like the jump, because I remember I had to buy the Johnson Brothers CD from some like Atlanta CD shop on eBay, and it was the only way I could get it. I paid like £20 for it, and it was in like a little cardboard wallet, and that was the only way I could get that.
Nice.
Well, with like, do you guys find it infuriating still that these artists aren't recognized and people just are so happy to just consume what's put directly in front of them with mainstream radio? Because we don't have like country radio over here, really. We don't have those dedicated stations, so it is a lot more like internet based, which means people do have to dig a fair bit.
This is like the biggest difference.
Me and Gary go back and forth. I would definitely say it's infuriating. Like, I went down to Texas last weekend, and you cross the state line, you turn on the radio, and you got Flatland Cavalry and Turnpike on the radio. Like, why can that not be everywhere else? Like this, and I get it. Like, the mainstream here is just all about what sells, and it's all about the money. So it always has been. Yeah. But then the people behind it, who's making the decisions on what's going to sell, the popular stuff, they have nothing to do with country music or rural lifestyle. They have no ties to anything. So they're making these calls, and like, I get that. That's the industry side of things, but like, we need some other facet of getting these artists out there. Like, why can we not have another radio station of this stuff? Like regionally, like outside of Texas, like it can happen. It works in Texas. Like, in art, like, fans can take the substance. Morgan Wallen did Cover Me Up, right? And like, Nashville is scared to put substance out because they don't think people care about lyrics. Well, that song did really well, so like others can too. I get infuriated thinking about it on how much, like, I just wish other people knew what was out there and had the like ability to find it. Like, it's so hard to find it. You have to go down this rabbit hole. Somebody has to tell you by word of mouth, and then you have to actually listen. Maybe you have to hear it 3 or 4 times before you actually search it up and go down the rabbit hole. So it's so hard to actually find it. And that's just frustrating.
I think I was, same thing. Like, I think I was mad at first, but I think this is like the biggest like change in the way I've thought about it since then. Like, at like first episode, like, definitely, like, I would have said pretty well exactly what he just said. And I think now I'm just like, fuck them. Like, if they don't want to, if they don't, you look at how big, Tyler Childers and Sturgill Simpson can go sell out arenas on a tour. So
never through the radio,
and they're doing fine. They're doing just fine. Like, they're not broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I would you know what? Like, and the other side of it is if mainstream country radio was, and I hope they're not listening to this, but if mainstream country radio was playing Tyler Childers and Coulter Wall and Sturgill Simpson, or maybe not even some of the big ones, like maybe even, like somebody like Charlie Marie, who we just had on, use her for an example, just because she's the most recent episode. If they were playing her, nobody would listen to our show. Nobody would care what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe that's a little, maybe that's a little selfish, but it's just like, people discover artists through us and like through this fucking really cool community that we have around this music. And so, like, like I said, if they don't want to pay attention, like, we'll be fine we'll be fine on our own, I think, because like I said, every time you go to a party, if you plug in your phone or hook it up to the Bluetooth and play, a Cody Jinks song or a Kelsey Walden song or a Sierra Farrell, like somebody, you can't tell me somebody, I don't care if you like country music or not, you're not just gonna be hypnotized by Sierra Farrell's voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I think there's enough people out there now, like the proof is in the pudding, in the fact that Sturgill and Tyler can sell at an arena. Yeah. And it's like, like, there's enough people that care out there. It's just, turn the radio off and start you know, start finding your music a little more
Yeah.
organically, I guess. I don't know.
My frustration more comes from like just thinking that fans of country music deserve better, and like I just wish it was easier. And that's what we're doing, is trying to make it more accessible, right? That's why, as Garrett's saying, that's what we're trying to do, is make it more accessible, because it's so hard to find. But I just think that you know, the fans of country music deserve better, and like I think you said it, Mike, is you know, it's like spoon fed. There's everybody just takes in what the mainstream gives you, and you don't put any thought to it. You just spoon fed it. And
fucking
you
snowing
don't
straight
understand
sideways outside. Sorry.
But yeah, it's just the accessibility of it, and that's what we're trying to help with. And I don't know, but
and from like your perspective, I've always found it interesting how like the Opry and country radio have been seen as like these bastions of like country culture that are like a must have, and you have to play on that stage, you have to be on radio. But you know, they kicked Hank Williams out, they kicked Johnny Cash out. Mainstream radio has not helped like Tyler or Stegel anyway. Why do you think these institutions are still so like hallowed, even though there's like continuous examples of people like bypassing them?
There's money in the fact that they're such historically important, I guess, institutions. But I mean, on the flip side of that, I mean, Zach Bryan's playing the Opry tonight.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, they like, it's not that they don't pay attention to these people. Like they don't. It's not that they don't pay attention, but the ones that they promote the most is, you know, when the Opry has, you know, Sam Hunt playing, you're gonna see a lot more about that.
Yeah.
Why? Fucking why? Money, I guess. Like, but I mean, they do at least let little people on. You know, Zach Bryan's not little in my book, but I wouldn't say.
Yeah, but it's still, you know, it's cool. Like, I mean, less than 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure it was 2 summers ago, that guy was like posting videos of him playing those first few songs on Twitter, and then people basically showed up with pitchforks at his fucking door and were like, record music right now.
album now.
So like, it's cool to see like how quickly, I mean, that guy, you know, I don't, you know, want to go down the rabbit hole, but it's just like, that's a good example of like somebody who's kind of just, you know, through the songs just fucking made a name for himself. And like now tonight he's about to play the Grand Ole Opry. So, I mean, something to be said for that type of thing too. I think that's a testament to how passionate this community is, who like this type of music, like who pay attention to this type of music. And like, you know, there's even people I'm sure who listen to him or any of these other ones who didn't really listen to country music before, you know, like I said, and that goes back to what I said about it's addictive. Like, I feel like, I'm sure you were interested to get your stuff being over in the UK. Like, I find that people and fans of this type of music in like our community, I keep calling it, you know what I mean? They know what it takes to get artists up and down the road, and they're not shy about supporting them, whether it means, you know, obviously they're going to go to a show every time they're in town. They're going to buy a t-shirt or 2 or 3 at that show. They're going to buy a vinyl record. You know what I mean? Like they have a real appreciation for you know, what it takes to support these artists. I guess it's not just streaming on Spotify, you know, they're the first ones to pre-order that record. Right.
Yeah.
So that, you know, that's always cool too. Like, no, there's no better feeling than when somebody like messages us or tweets at us or whatever it is, and they're just like, oh, like I really loved Charlie Marie. Like, I really loved listening to that. Like, she's awesome. I just went and bought a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, right on. Good. Like, even if I can get one person to go buy her t-shirt for listening to that podcast, you know?
Yeah, man. Same. I had Luke Hendrickson on a while back, who's a great guy. If you've not heard him, he's up in Minnesota.
Cool.
And
that's
like,
close to me.
Yeah, he put out a One Night at the Crystal Lounge, which is a phenomenal record. And someone like tweeted me saying like, I bought the vinyl because of that. And that's like something that is really important as podcasters, because sometimes you do kind of feel that you're just speaking into the void.
Yeah.
And if you can actually make a difference, even in like one sale to an artist, it just gives you a warm and fuzzy feeling inside.
Yeah, man, exactly. It's really rewarding. You're like, oh, like, man, there's somebody out there listening. You know, we are kind of making a difference. Not only that, like, you know, that artist is going to be like, oh shit, like cool. Like they may never know that that's why somebody bought that t-shirt, but I mean, it feels good for people like us, you know?
Even when like, all the time on Twitter, people are like, hey, what artist are you listening to right now? And someone will go down and they'll be like, Brent Cobb, Charlie Murray, 49 Winchester. They'll tweet a list of names, and at the bottom they'll tag us. It's like all people like we've had on. It's like
they'll say whatever they recommend, and it's like, oh, really? You guys actually care? Like, cool.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's fun. Cool. Yeah.
And how do you kind of keep tabs on new music? Because I saw on your on your webpage, you have like a team behind you now of like guys like looking for new. Like, what's the kind of process of like, or even screening process of new artists and how you find new stuff?
Like shout out to those guys. I mean, those guys are there to kind of help us out with, whether it be content. Like Jay filled in for Mike on a podcast here a while back when Mike he was out doing other stuff. He was actually
I was doing a video session.
He was doing some other stuff for us. So it's just like now, like we have, people to fill in for a podcast or people to go shoot a video or do an interview or whatever. Like Jay, one of the fellows who's writing for us, like he is doing an outstanding job writing for us. But I guess this is all to say, like, those guys, there's a reason they wanted to be involved with us, and there's a reason we wanted them to come and help us out. And it's because they, just as much as we do, if not honestly more, they have their ear to the ground when it comes to this stuff, right? Like, I mean, Jonathan, think I'll just stay here and meme. Go give him a follow on Instagram. First of all, he's hilarious. He's the meme king. But like that guy, I don't know if I've ever texted him and been like, "Oh, have you heard of this?" Or "Have you heard of her? Have you heard of him?" And he'll be like, "Oh yeah, they're pretty good," or "Oh, she's pretty good." Like he knows shit. I don't even know where he finds time to like listen to all this and like have an opinion on it, because it's
we should make up a name and be like, "Hey, have you heard of this person?" And see what he says.
Yeah, see what he says. Just like probably he has heard of it. It's amazing. It really is.
Fake person.
Those guys are great. I mean, Jonathan's introduced us to a ton of music, and even if he hasn't introduced us to it, he's definitely like one is Nicholas Jamerson, for example. I've been listening to Nicholas Jamerson since he was in Sunday Best. Like I knew, like I'd listened to Nicholas Jamerson a lot. I was a fan of his solo stuff and Sunday Best before Jonathan kind of like reiterated. He like, when we first had Jonathan on the show, he was like, "Oh, I'd love to play Nick's music." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome. Like I love him." And like since then, it kind of just like it's, like I said, I had listened to and been a fan of his before, but he just kind of like brought that back out, and like I'm an even bigger fan of his now because Jonathan.
Like,
no man,
Jonathan
Nicholas is the shit.
Jonathan like introduced us to being friends with Nick, and like he came over and hung out with us in Lexington. Like, like he built that connection between us and too, like and other artists. Like, that's cool. But I think when it comes to screening for music, that's where it gets very tricky. Because we get sent a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like we get sent a lot of stuff.
I'm sure you do too, man. Even with your show, like people just hitting you up on Instagram and stuff, being like, "Hey, I'd love for you to listen." And it's like a lot of the time I feel bad because it's like I would love to listen, but it's like you're the 25th person to message me something today. Like, you know what I mean? How do you find time to listen to all that?
But every time you do, it's like you're hoping it's good, and then most of the time it's not. But I think what I look for is a pretty simple formula that I try to keep to is a true country sound, which could be a lot of things, right? But I like to hear the instruments, if it sounds country, right? It's not overproduced. It's got a good sound, okay? And then substance, so in the lyrics. If you check those two boxes, you're sitting good. I mean, obviously, like you're not gonna sing like I sing. Like, you're gonna be able to sing a little bit, too. Like there's other things that factor in, but that's pretty much it. If it's got a true country sound, which is a broad thing, like that's hard to pinpoint, but when you hear it and when you don't.
Yeah.
And then like screening for music to try to find to put on bring a guest on, you mean? Other like long-haired Mike?
That's how I
host Mike?
Is
that what you meant by that question?
And even just like when you find music, because like I also
just like listening.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I was talking about. Like if I hear something new, like those are the things I'm thinking of. Like first off, do I like this?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the first question. Like, does this sound good? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like obviously, and then, but like, you know, meaningful lyrics. Like, they're not just singing bullshit that doesn't mean anything, you know, like has some substance to it also. It's nice. But I guess how I discover most of my music is, I don't even know, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube. I love those, like you said, Gyms on VHS, those YouTube sessions. And I can go just let those things play. Yeah. And then discover a lot of artists that way, you know. And then you're getting it raw, you know, you're not getting whatever, you know, if it's overproduced on an album, you're getting them just playing. Yeah. And like, that's a good, like, that's how you, like, you can tell a lot from that, you know, just someone playing a guitar and singing.
Yeah. Yeah, man, like I am help admin a page called Road Country here in the UK, which is trying to like promote UK artists as well as you know, independent American ones. And it is a lot of like screening process of, you know, you can normally tell in the first 5 or 10 seconds if it's actually like a worthwhile song. And it does save a lot of time when you do that. But like one of the things for the UK, I don't know if you guys have that issue, is if someone starts singing in an American accent and I know they're from like Essex. And that's always been an issue over here in the UK, is like there's an authenticity like fight where it's like people think by putting on a southern accent, that's what country music is and that's what needs to be authentic. And I know, like, does that kind of happen in the States where, you know, people who are, you know, because like Jesse Daniels from California, Charlie Marie's from Rhode Island, but they aren't putting on country accents to sing country songs?
Yeah, like, I don't know. There's definitely, I mean, I think we talked about this with Zephaniah Aora. He's from Brooklyn. And it's just like...
He lives in Brooklyn. He's not from there.
Yeah, well, sorry. Yeah, he lives in Brooklyn. But anyway, like, he doesn't... I mean, we just had the conversation about, like, he's like, I'm not going to sing in a Southern accent because I'm not from the South.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even think, like, I would say, like, I mean, dude, again, like, I keep beating this over the head, but Charlie Marie, like, you listen to her talk on the podcast, she's got a thick, like, Rhode Island accent, dude. Like, and it's awesome. But she, like, you don't hear it when she sings, but I wouldn't say she's, like, laying it on thick where she's, like, putting on a Southern. I wouldn't say it's, like, a phony accent. I wouldn't. I think, you know, like, there's a ton of people who sing entirely differently than they speak.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, Jesse doesn't have a.
I wouldn't say
he has a Southern accent when he sings. He sounds like himself. You know, like
I think there is something to be said, though. I think it would be pretty funny if they did.
That sounds fake when he sings. That accent sounds fake. He's from the South, but I think that sounds overly fake. You know?
Yeah, but that's what I was trying to say. It's just like I think there is something really fucking phony about changing your accent. Like, laying that Southern accent on to try to be country, because I mean those are 3 great examples. I mean California is kind of south. Well, it's not south, but California's California. But Rhode Island and Brooklyn, I mean those certainly aren't in the South. But those, like, again, those artists aren't out there singing in Morgan Wallen's voice. So so that's cool. That's fine with me, right? But if I would think it's pretty phony if they were putting on a real Southern accent,
big Southern drawl.
I didn't know about that though. Like a UK artist, like making a super, doing a super Southern accent.
It's it's the same thing where like British rap. Some British rappers try and put on an American accent to rap.
Yeah,
and then you sometimes hear American artists who are influenced by Amy Winehouse and Adele try and put on like a British accent to sing.
I was going to say, what about American and Canadian rappers trying to put on like British accents, or like even like a Caribbean, like Jamaican type of an accent?
That'll happen.
Because like I know I know a lot of guys from Toronto. I played basketball with a lot of guys from Toronto, or just been around a lot of dudes from Toronto, and and I mean that's a little different because there is a lot of people who are actually from both like the UK and from the Caribbean over there, so it is a little different. And that like kind of slang and like accent is kind of in with now this weird like blend of Canadian and Toronto like slang, I guess. But it's just like they definitely I've heard Canadian rappers like put on a, you know, kind of a British sort of a accent, I suppose.
I like talking in a British accent only when I want to say the C word, because it's acceptable if you say the C word in a British accent.
Yeah, cunt's just like an adjective.
Yeah, dude.
See?
So,
but here you have to say it in a British accent so you know it's acceptable.
You
Otherwise,
said
it's not.
you said you listened to the Charlie Marie episode. I actually edited this part out right after we talk about her saying broad.
Yeah.
I clipped this part out because I couldn't say it on the show, but I was just like, yeah, like cunt is kind of similar. Like in Canada, we say that word, like not like you guys say it way more, and even Australians say it way more. But like in Canada, it's not really a like I'll call an inanimate object a cunt. Like I will. I don't know. Like it's just kind of the way.
How's
Like
your
I mean,
mouth, Garrett? You
Mike
can't say that shit,
commented on that shit when I went down to the States. I was just like, oh yeah, I grabbed that guy. Like, and he's like, dude, like maybe not. Oh, sorry. Like shit. Whoops. Like I don't know. But
that's handy to know if I ever go to the States because it's like shit cunt, dog cunt, like constantly.
No, Mike, you have an accent. You have a British accent, so
I'd get away with
fine.
it.
You're fine. You got a pass. Right?
Get out of jail free card.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good to know.
The accent.
I can't say it. I don't have an accent, so I.
Yeah. Well, God forbid you ever said it on your podcast because I'd hate to see another review of your language.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, jeez.
Rough. That's you know what's funny? There's a follow-up review. Somebody wrote another review and was just like, yeah, I've never met whatever his name was, but like I'm sure he commented. He wrote a review commenting on that guy's review. It's pretty funny. We should leave that guy alone. We beat him to death already.
What was the follow? I haven't seen it.
Oh, I don't know. I just read it here the other day when I was looking at her.
Dang.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, anyways.
Yeah.
We kind of bastardized that guy.
Do you? You cuss on this show, don't you? Obviously.
Yeah. Like, so are you guys conscious of what, like you say, obviously I'm not only English, I'm from like Liverpool, like Merseyside. So it's like the kind of thing where when you go when you think that's like, we can fill that space with like, fuck, shit, whatever curse word we think of is like basically a pause or a period at the end of our sentences.
Right.
So like I'll say cunt in front of my mum and stuff. Like it's not a thing that matters, to be honest, over here. Or to me. At some point, like even like when I've been in work and stuff, it's just part of my vocabulary.
Yeah.
But are you guys conscious of the language you use on podcasts and stuff? Because I've kind of like with you guys or with guests, I'll try and tone down my language a bit compared to what I will be barbecue. But are you conscious of that kind of thing?
I'll usually try to throw out a feeler at the start before we get on the air. Like I'll make sure I'll say fuck or shit or something, or like say something a little abrasive and see if they follow suit, see if they like cuss too. And they're like, if I notice they're cussing, I'm gonna cuss. Or like even like on an episode where we know it's gonna be some silly shit, like when Keekers and Ferg came on episode 69. This is gonna be literally the stupidest thing ever spoken to a microphone, so like it's fine.
It was.
And like any episode, like I don't know, you kind of just read the room, dude. Like, like I said, if they're cussing, it's like, okay, now I feel way more open about cussing, where like even, or if they're maybe they're a little shy or something like that, and you cuss a couple times, sometimes it loosens people up too if you do that. I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of a read the room thing. One thing, I don't know, this is kind of unrelated, but one thing we try not to do, if we are aware of it beforehand, is we won't drink in front of like people who are sober, obviously.
Yeah.
You're not sober, right?
No, that's one of the things I was just going to say. I do the same thing, but like true to a stereotype, this is a cup of tea. So I only drink.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I filter myself all day at teaching school, so I don't really want to continue that into the podcast, you know.
Right.
I don't have a tally sitting there like I'm only at 12 cuss words this episode, I need to get to 25. Like, you know, I don't try to cuss, but
definitely depends on the conversation.
If
it is a little more serious, like when we had Hayes Carl on, like, okay, first of all, this is Hayes Carl, like he, you know, I'm lucky to even be talking to him right now. So, and he was more like, you could tell he was a little more used to being interviewed in maybe a more traditional sense, or I don't know, like that conversation, like I said, it's just, you kind of just feel the vibe of the conversation. Like, I'm not just going to sit and say, fuck, shit, piss, this and that all day long to Hayes. Cause it was like a real, like, it was a pretty like relatively serious conversation for our standards. You know, when we get talking about more silly shit, it's like, when we get into like some more silly shit, it's like, okay, now we can kind of let her fly, right? But I don't know. That's yeah.
Yeah, you don't
like
go,
I said,
you don't walk in and go, how the fuck are you fucking doing?
Yeah, like not usually, but I will try to throw out a feeler at the start. Like I'll definitely make sure that one of us like we gotta kind of cuss at the start, or like we tell them like usually our little rundown before we start recording. It's like, okay, well I guess let's get started. The only thing we try not to talk about is politics. You can ask us questions. This is not an interview. We're just talking, and like you can cuss, you can do whatever. It doesn't matter. We're just talking. That's basically the rundown that we say every single time.
I think I'm gonna start like when I hop on the Zoom calls, just like as soon as I get in, just be like, "What's up, motherfuckers?" And just see how it goes.
Yeah.
What
the fuck is up in this bitch?
Yeah. You cunts.
No, it's definitely.
I kind of did it in an accent, so it's acceptable.
It is. It's
Don't
funny.
cancel me.
It has been weird to kind of see cunt as like a word that's got such a reaction in the States, because over here it's just like every other word. So it's still like, it kind of, to me, it's always like, when you first started swearing when you were a kid?
Right. Yeah.
To me, it just kind of seems like it's at that level still. And it's just interesting to me that like how language is, kind of segregating. I think Britain and Australia are in a competition to see who can say it the most.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Who's winning?
I think you're right.
Australia, probably.
Dude, Australians say it like it's like every other word out of their mouth, dude. Like it's funny and like
But then we
it
started,
is pretty funny.
Yeah, me and my mate started watching that Big Les show on YouTube, and then we just started appropriating a lot of like how they were using it into our conversations to try and just get our numbers up as well.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it has a more like misogynistic implication.
It does too. Yes,
for sure. Like it's definitely like a misogynistic thing where like people hear that and they're like, oh, like they look at you like, oh no, like you don't do that. Up here, I don't think. I mean, I'm not gonna say it around my mother, for like probably, but I can definitely like. I mean, when I'm just out with people, like fucking, I don't know, let her fly. If somebody has a problem with it, they'll tell you, and then it's like, oh, sorry, like, oops.
Yeah. Tell you what,
I don't know.
I'm gonna go out to the bars tonight. I'll start throwing it around to see how it goes.
I would say that I think the difference there is like I would never walk up to a female and say and call her that ever.
No,
I would never do that. That's entirely different.
Yeah,
but like
if it's
I
a
will
personal
say,
attack, that's like a different.
There's 2 cans sitting on my desk. Like, go throw them cunts in the garbage. Like, like that's. Oh, go grab that kind. Like, call a guy. Like, I'll call every one of my friends a cunt to their face like 100 times. Like, but I think that's. I don't know.
Yeah, if it's like actually aimed at someone, that's the difference. But
for sure.
It's interesting. Have you found? Obviously, you say you don't talk about politics and stuff on the show. Have you found that to be a stumbling block or something that's kind of you've wanted to ask questions and you've not because of that rule or that kind of guideline?
It's pretty easy going into it knowing if you're going to be talking about music that's inherently political, kind of, or at least like even like some more. And I mean, it's stupid now because like in the world we live in is like social issues immediately just people take them as political, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about with Katie Pruitt, we talked about like, LGBTQ stuff or like, how representing that stuff in her music was important to her basically. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's not political.
Not a political thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's entirely different than sitting and saying like, oh, fucking Trump versus Biden or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I hate talking about that shit. First of all, because like everybody, I mean, I say this all the time to people. I'm just like, I don't get a vote anyway, so I don't give a fuck. First of all, and I hate talking about politics with anybody. So it's like, and nobody tunes into a music podcast to listen to us talk about, politics. But I mean, like I said at the start, there's definitely certain songs and certain artists where you're going to talk about that type of stuff, but it's just because the music is inherently political. It's not. It's not like we're going to sit there and have a debate over Republican or Democrat shit or whatever.
And 99% of the time when the line is said like, hey, we talked about anything other than politics, they're like, thank God.
Exactly.
Like that's the typical reaction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Like I had Charles Wesley Godwin in a while back last year.
Nice.
Yeah.
And,
He's awesome.
I put the podcast up on his fan page, and someone commented being like, "Oh, it's I can't remember if they said it was weird that it was so political at the beginning, or they just commented on it being political. But it was weird because all we were doing, we talked about like windmills, and like his songs are about small towns being decimated, and just kind of talking about how that's kind of led from, because we've got the same issue here where it's kind of just people have been left behind, everything's gone derelict, there's been no funding and no support. So we were just kind of talking about that, and that was taken by people to be like this political issue instead of like, obviously it's down to politics and governments and things, but to have that singled out as you were talking politics, and it was a really interesting thing to see.
Like I said though at the start, that's more like a social thing that people just like in their brain, they're like, oh, that's political, but it's like, no, man, it's not really at all, actually.
Yeah, I think one of the worst things kind of in this era is a lot of moral and social issues have been swept up as political issues. Yeah. Like political issue is kind of like the Americana of, you know, and like it's just a catch-all term to say like get everything.
Yeah, good point, man.
The Americana of it, the umbrella.
Yeah, it's just an umbrella term to catch everything.
Yeah. Americana ain't no part of nothing.
But before this podcast, like I was doing a bit of research on you guys, and I listened back to the What is Country Music episode that you guys did.
Yeah. Gee, that's a throwback, dude. That's like episode 4 or something. Or no, maybe that's like 20, maybe.
Episode 12. Just to
12? Okay, all right. Okay.
You're more well versed than us.
Yeah, you know us better.
Yeah. Have you guys kind of like changed your stance on what is country music? I know we talked about it a bit before, but I really found what you were saying interesting. Wondered if it had changed in the last like 70 plus episodes, and have you found yourselves getting more like analytical or academic when it comes to your approach of what country music and what Americana is and things?
I don't know if my opinions changed on what country music is. I think I was a little gatekeepy before where I was like, that's country and that's not, or whatever. Yeah. But I think now, and like, I think that's just come with like, the more you talk to artists and the more you realize that the artists themselves don't really care about being put in a box of a genre anyways. Then as a fan, you're like, oh, well, he doesn't care if he's called country or not, so why do I have to care? Like, I think, and even like, I don't know if Mike would even agree with this, but I think like our shows become less about calling this country or that country and more about just like, this is good music, you should listen to it, support it, you know? I think, I don't know, that's, if that answers your question, I think that's kind of like how my mind has changed on it a little bit.
I can't even recall like what my stance exactly was back then, but I feel like it was decently similar with like the sound and the substance kind of thing. So I guess that would be the same, but everything Garrett said too, like, we're definitely, it'd be more towards just, we're trying to show good music more than worrying about what it's labeled, you know?
Like we had Band of Heathens on, they're straight up, they're like, no, we're not a country band, we're a rock and roll band. All right. Like, sure. Like, I still think there's a little bit of country influence, and I think they would say that too, but they're like, no, we're a rock and roll band. Arlo McKinley, he's like, I don't really consider myself a country musician or a country artist. It's like, okay, but it sounds kind of country. It's got pedal steel in it. I don't know if is that the defining factor? Is it got pedal steel in it? I don't know.
No.
Or like,
because I'm pretty sure Sam Hunt throws pedal steel on some of his songs to try to make it country.
We were going to have, like, we were in kind of having conversations with Black Pumas before they, like, played on the Grammys, and now they're way too big for us. But, like, at that point, I was just like, fuck, like, let's have them on. Like, it's pretty country influenced. Like, it's still, like, it's still, I don't know, that to me is Americana, though, also. Where it's like, okay, they're kind of R&B, they're kind of blues, they're kind of soul, they're kind of country. Well, what the hell do you call that? I don't know, Americana, I guess. So, fuck it, like that's not out of our realm, I don't think. Or even like Leon Bridges or something. Like I'd fucking bring him on our show anytime. I mean, not that he gives a shit about talking to us, but just just an example of like, I don't think it has to necessarily be the textbook definition of country anymore.
And that pisses some of our listeners off too.
Yeah, for sure. Like, so we've people are like, they're like, why are you promoting that?
A strictly country music podcast. Like we get that a lot. Like, what are you talking to this person for? you know. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, we like their music, man. Like
Yeah.
we're fans. We're just talking to our people that we like.
If it's good, it's good.
Don't dig into it.
It doesn't
too
really
far.
matter what genre it is. Does that mean I'm going to bring on, like, at least not right now. I don't think we're in a position where we can go as far as to like bring on like a rapper or something. But it's like,
oh no, we're not gonna.
But it's like, yeah, like I think just like the definition of what we think is, not even we individually, but like we as like, if we're gonna just call Hippies and Cowboys this thing, I think like it's definitely broadened throughout the time that we've been doing the podcast, where it's like, okay, like I have no problem promoting something that maybe I wouldn't have promoted, you know, even 9 months ago now, just because, like I said, the more you talk to these artists, the more you realize like they don't give a fuck if they're put into a box of, oh, you're country, or oh, you're Americana, or this or that. And like once, as a fan and as a listener, at least for me, once I realized that, I'm like, well, if they don't care, why should I have to care?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's really an interesting thing. And listening back to what like your podcast was about, what is country music, and looking at the
that's a very popular episode actually, which is weird. Like I guess it's just because of the name. It's a catchy name, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's that, and I think a lot of people want to kind of have the opinions validated of what they think country music is. But I think a lot of like what Americana is, or what people think it is, I think it's a lot of it's audience defined, not artist defined.
Yeah.
And like I remember I was watching the Hot One Highways Revisited, and I can't remember who said it, but the difference between a country audience and a Americana audience is, the Americana audience is the same as the country audience. There's just no Republicans, and that to me kind of made me think then that's it's more about what the audience is than what the artist is.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting because just going off like that quote, like I guess maybe just has something to do with the demographic that's listening to the music. Maybe.
And the perspective.
Like maybe Americana is a little more urban, like as far as like people who grew up in cities aren't going to call themselves country because they didn't grow up in the country. Like that's always a weird factor for me when you talk to people, is like they're country artists, but in their lives in a suburb or something. It's just like, well, conveniently 90% of what you see on country radio. But I think, I mean, that's probably a whole nother podcast for a whole other day if you want to get into a conversation about that, like the differences between like somebody's roots both as a listener and as an artist type of thing. I don't know. I almost don't even want to continue my train of thought because I'll go in so far deep into this rabbit hole because it's a very interesting, like there's a very interesting dynamic there as far as like where somebody's from, both as an artist and as a listener, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, like especially from a UK perspective, because a lot of people will call themselves Americana and not country, but they seem to be more part of using country because of its connotations with America.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do they call themselves Americana if you're not an American? That's right. I find that too with Canada. How do you call yourself an Americana artist if you're from Canada? You're not from America. So, yeah.
How do you call yourself a red dirt artist from Texas?
Yeah.
Same thing.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the one thing I was listening to your podcast and like that quote popped up in my head of like, and I think a lot of it is it's always audience defined in terms of what people, especially with Americana, it's like what they kind of feel comfortable with. Because I remember I toured Europe and I call myself like an alt country artist when I'm booking shows, and someone came to a gig thinking I was an alt right country artist, and that was a whole lot. I had to put to bed straight away.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, because it was like 2018, and they came up to me at the gig and they were like, "Oh, so you support Trump?" And I'm like, "One, I'm British."
That's sketchy.
Yeah.
I don't think they were alt-right or they were promoting that kind of thing, but they thought that I was, and I think they were gonna try and convert me or something to it otherwise.
Protest or something.
Yeah, but it's weird to have those kind of perceptions. Have you found, like with the Hippies and Cowboys podcast, like those like kind of not necessarily issues, but those kind of perspectives, like good or bad, about what country music is coming up to you guys?
Just from the name, you mean, or just from like
from the name and from like promoting country and, you know, roots and Americana music?
I think it's always like Mike said, like if somebody has a problem with it, they think it's because we're not promoting enough stuff that's super hard country. I think maybe because there's people who will be like, oh, why are you promoting that artist? And it's just like, well, why isn't he or she country? Why not? Like, explain to me why they're not. Is oftentimes like, if I ever get that question, it's like, well, why aren't they country? I don't know. You know, what's country then, dude? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting one. We haven't got too much. Really, like it's actually funny. In a year and 4 months now of doing this podcast, we haven't got a ton of like super negative backlash really about anything, honestly, except for our too much cussing. I don't know. Can you think of one, Mike? I don't know. People don't yell at us too often. Maybe not often enough.
We have a review that we're too timid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
but like, dude, like that's the worst. Like, I can't think of something where somebody was like really pissed about something we're doing. Like, I'll just, for as an example, like I have a friend here in Alberta, and he just started a podcast like 2 months ago, if that, like 2 maybe 3 months ago, and he's had I think like 5 episodes out, and he has like a playlist that he's like, dude, like the guy has like maybe 100 followers on Instagram. Like doesn't have a big audience. He just started. And he had a playlist of like literally like 2,000 songs or something on it. Like it's a huge playlist. And somebody DM'd him, and he's just like, oh, hey, like would appreciate it if you went and followed my playlist. And he was just telling me about this like a few weeks ago. And he's like, this person DM'd him on Instagram, like went on a rant about how he's like a misogynist and all this because he didn't have like 50-50 men and women on the playlist. And I'm just like, dude, like, he's like, do you get that a lot? Like, do people yell at you for not promoting enough women? I was like, well, first of all, like,
we have to actively think about that too.
I was like, first of all, like, we don't, like, I mean, we don't really like, oh, like, it's been a while, we got to fucking get a woman in there. It's just like, okay, like, there was a period there where we had like 4 women on in a row, and I never thought twice about it. It was never, but like, nobody's ever yelled at us for that. Like, nobody's ever DM'd us and been like, oh, you fuckers, like,
I mean, a lot of the times with our guests, it's kind of based around what music's coming out, and what PR people were in contact with. But it is something where it's like, you know, a lot of these, you know, maybe it was scheduled, you know, they reached out to us, and then we end up with 6 dudes in a row. Like, and we do have to think. We have to be like, this looks bad. Yeah, you know, we need like that. That's a real thing, because dude, some of those journalists in like Nashville are ruthless, and they'll call you.
But they don't care about what we're doing,
and like, and you don't want your whole brand being labeled as misogynist. Yeah. Like, you can't. It's not worth it. Yeah, but that was at the same time, like, that's not what, like, we're just promoting the people we like. Like Garrett said, we get 4 girls on in a row, and it's not like we didn't think about doing that. Like, hey, we need a bunch of girls on right now. It's just how it happens. You know, it's what music's coming out. It's who we're in contact with. You know, like. But it is something that you have to be aware of, like, for sure.
Yeah, that was something I actually,
which is a good thing though too. Yeah. Like it's good to think about. It's just like, hey, like, you know, like, it's because we want to be, you know, like, play fair, if that's that's kind of a fucky way of putting it. But it's just like we don't want to, you know. Exactly, it's something to think about. Like, but a lot of it's, I mean, you said like some of the journalists and stuff too. Like, they also don't give a fuck about what we're doing. Like, really.
No.
Yeah, because this was.
But they give a fuck about the journalists give a fuck about whining and calling people out and trying to cancel people. That's what they care about. That's all they care. Yeah. They don't care about the music. So, I mean, they don't care about us, but they would care about trying to make us look bad. Yeah. And that's all. That's what gets.
But like I said, I just, like, my story that I told, I was just like, it was just funny to me. Like, I was just like, no, man, like, nobody's ever like cussed us out about that. That's weird, because it was, like I said, he just started. Like, the guy's barely got enough. He's barely got 1 guy on there, and like somebody yelled at him because he didn't have enough women on his show, and he's just like, well, like, what do you mean, man? I got, like, at the time, I think he quite literally had like 2 or 3 episodes out. and some woman, like somebody just cussed him out about it. And I'm like, oh God, like that's rough, dude.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to kind of ask you about, because I saw on Twitter a while back someone had to go with Chris Shiflett over his Walk on the Floor podcast.
Yeah, right.
About not having either people of color or women on it. I can't remember which one
I think it was both. They really kind of put him through the ringer though. And he was like, they were like, what was the comment? You should fire your booker or whatever. And he's like, well, that would be tough because I am the booker. No, I mean, it like Mike said, at least for us, like especially now, I think it's become more this way since we've kind of grown in size of like audience. We definitely, a lot of our episodes are based around new music and promotion.
Yeah.
So naturally, if we get 10 emails about males with new records coming out, but we only get one about a female with a new record coming out, like it's like probably there's going to be, you know, even if 7 of them suck, like, okay, maybe it's 2 to 1. Like, I don't know. I've had a tougher time. Like I do most of the booking in most cases just because I have more free time on my hands to send emails, but it's just like most of the time we get more responses from, I think it's a thing where too, like maybe
we're 2 dudes.
I hate to accuse anybody of this, but I mean, maybe people have preconceived notions about what we might be like just because we are just 2 random dudes. We're not, you know, like we have no real journalistic reputation but A, we don't have one, and B, like we don't have one to uphold. So, you know, maybe sometimes like publicity people of females like look at us and say like, oh well, why would she want to go talk to these 2 morons? Like, you know what I mean? Because we are kind of just a couple morons, but you know, I don't know if, like I said, I don't want to speculate because I don't know if that is the case, but I mean, maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is. We have had a tougher time
getting girls. Yeah.
Getting ladies to come on the show for sure.
Yeah. No, it is an interesting thing. And I always kind of think like, it's also, you don't want to be kind of accused of tokenism and trying to go out your way to get someone who may not be necessarily as talented, but kind of checks boxes of people that are under.
Yeah. There's no way we don't want to do that. We don't want to be like, okay, I'm not gonna
promote a white guy that
seven white dudes in a row. Like, this guy emailed us, or this African American woman emailed us. Well, we need to get one. You know, we need to check that box. Like, even though we don't dig it, like we're not going to do that. Like that's I'm not
gonna promote a white guy that I don't like. So I'm not gonna promote any other. Like I'm not gonna play the. I'm not gonna play the fucking. I'm not gonna play the game of like, oh, I have to have, you know, an Asian American or whatever it is. I'm not going to play that game where it's like I have to check a box. It's just like your music's good or your music's bad, and I'm not going to promote your music based on what color your skin is or where you're from or whoever you are. If I like it or if we like it, like we are like, again, the same as Chris, like we are the bookers. If we like it, we'll play it, we'll promote it. I mean, I scroll through my playlist, man. Like I've got tons of women, tons of African American artists, tons of like there's Asian American artists. Like I said, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna play some game. We're just not gonna play a game where it's
at the end of the day too, we don't control who says yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So I think it's something to think about, but like we're gonna put on who we like and who we can get that we like.
and it does suck.
And you know what? If people bitch at us about it, we want to avoid it, but you know.
We haven't had anybody bitch at us about it, but it does suck having to have that in the back of your mind. Like you definitely, you know, you're just like, oh, like hopefully nobody cancels me for not promoting something that they like what, you know, like sorry, like I guess I don't know. You know, it's stupid that you have to think about that. Like, and I mean, maybe that's why nobody's yelled at us about it yet, is just because we are 2 random dudes who don't actually, you know, like we're not journalists, so they don't have anything to like base anything off of. They don't.
Low expectations. That's what we drive
low expectations. A couple of guys in their 20s who just like care about music, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why we don't talk about politics, because it's just like I'm not getting into like some big long argument about who you're going to vote for. I don't care. Just the same way I don't care about your, like, but there's, because I think there's a fine line between like being very, what's the word, like conscious of including everyone, and being inclusive, I guess is the word. Because I do want to do those things. Like I want to be inclusive and play a female as much as a male artist. And like, I understand that type of thing is very important too, to promote people who aren't straight white dudes. Right. But at the same time, it's like, there's certainly a point too there where you can go over that line and almost be pandering, You're like, like how, there's certainly a point where it stops feeling like you're being inclusive, and you start feeling like, oh, like you need my attention to get by. And it's like, that's also kind of fucked up too.
Yeah.
So,
no, definitely. It's like, it is a fine line to walk, I think. But all you can do is your best, basically, as long as you're trying and stuff. But what I wanted to talk to you, like, we're coming up to, I don't want to keep you guys too long, but do you know much about like the UK scene and stuff? What's kind of happening over here or in Europe with country music and stuff?
Not as much.
No idea. I have no idea.
Yeah. Like anything that I know is probably from like following your pages, man. Like,
Right.
Yeah, it's probably, and I guess Gem's on VHS. Like Anthony's been over to Scotland, I believe, a few times.
Yeah,
and he's got he promotes a lot, like, more than the average American promotes artists from over that way. But yeah, I guess not a lot.
No, it's a weird thing because it's like, I remember in like the row group, I put up a post or like a poll being like, do you feel like you're missing out not being in America, or being like an American artist? And like a good chunk of the UK artists are like dying to get over there and trying to like, not necessarily be American, but they want to head over there and try and like tour and make a name for themselves, because the UK does seem to be in this weird flux of, there is some country music happening and inspired by Gems on VHS, Tyler Childers, all that stuff, and it is kind of like on the rise. But I think it's kind of got a ceiling to it, or it's gonna like plateau at some point, and it's interesting to see how it can like push and move forward.
Yeah. It's, I feel like, there's definitely a lot of country music in Canada, but there's also pretty much no outlets up here. Like, just maybe to kind of compare it to your situation, like there's not a lot of outlets up here for artists who aren't going to play the radio game, and be part of the machine. So that's tough. And that's something that I feel bad about it a lot. And also but I also don't really feel like I have the time to divide to start like maybe some kind of a Canadian outlet on the side to like promote that type of thing. Like, it's just like, I want to try to do that through Hippies and Cowboys, but it's also like people up here don't know about our show. Like all of our traction is in the United States. So like when I reach out to an artist up here, unless they already follow us or something, or somehow they've heard of us or whatever, like it's tough to kind of get any attention even from them, because they're like, well, who the fuck are you? It's just, it's a weird scene in Canada too, for sure. Outside of the mainstream, that is.
No, it's really weird, and it's kind of cool to see it kind of being pervasive, because I know, I'm not really from like a big town or anything. I'm near Liverpool, but I'm just over the water from it. But Joshua Ray Walker's just been booked for somewhere that's like a few minutes away from me, so I'm stoked about that's happening next year. Like Sarah Shuck's coming over to Manchester and stuff. But what do you kind of think with Hippies and Cowboys? What's your plans for the future? Because I know you've done the live streams with like Bella White and folks like that. What's kind of your plans going forward with Hippies and Cowboys to platform the artists that you like and want to support?
Well, I don't know. You want to take it, but you want me to? I don't know.
We have some ideas. We like the podcast thing. We obviously want to expand to other facets of content creation. With like video sessions, we've been getting into a little bit. We want to do more with that. Like we do like we do with Bella and we hosted a couple like those virtual concerts that we've done. We want to do that in real life.
We'd like to put on some kind of we'd like to put on events once the world's like back to total normal, right?
Right. So like real like concert series and like music festivals. Like we've had quite a few music festivals reach out to us for like this summer, like helping with booking and like other things like that. That's awesome. Like we'd love to get into that kind of stuff. So I just anything we can do to like be in the industry and help get more ears on these artists that we like. We want to do it. So I think our main focuses would be obviously the podcast, video sessions. That's how I discover a lot of artists. Like I'd love to do that. There's our writing, like Garrett said with Jay, doing a lot of good writing, Garrett writing, Jonathan, me, man writing. And then ultimately concerts and festivals.
Awesome, man.
Or organizing that kind of stuff is sweet. And not just like here in Iowa, but like, different places,
all over. Yeah. I think something we've said from the start, once we kind of realized that, oh shit, like maybe we could, make this a big enough deal where so at some point, hopefully, we can do this for a living, right? At least Mike and I at first, and then kind of bring the rest of our buddies along with us kind of. But like something we said, like even when kind of Jonathan was first kind of thinking about helping us out and kind of getting involved and being a part of what we're trying to do is just, we want to, the music is always going to come first. We want people to buy our t-shirts. We want people to buy our t-shirts, come to our events, watch our live streams, do all that stuff because they love the music the same as we do, and we just like, I think something that we think about consciously a lot is just never, kind of goes back to what we're saying, like never doing something just to like make a buck, or there always has to be like the intentions there have to be focused on the music first, and then like, okay, cool, like if we put on events and we turn a profit on it, like, okay, great, but did we introduce this, did we give all these people, obviously we haven't put events on yet, but like I guess the goal in the future is, if we keep this mindset, is just like, okay, great, now we got all those people to witness Jesse Daniels show or whatever it is, right? I think and just the sense of community that we have even with our listeners, like on social media and stuff, like it's all day every day, man. People are just constantly like talking shit or like tweeting stupid stuff or introducing each other to music or whatever, and it's all just so cool to see that all of these people who have never met each other in real life are all just kind of in this weird little online community around the music, first of all, but then also kind of our show, which is really, it's rewarding and it's motivating because you're like, well, shit, like, and this ties into everything basically we said. It's just like I said, it's addicting. Once you learn about this stuff, you want to keep finding more, and hopefully we can be that outlet for people to continue to find the music and find a place where they can go to a show and, oh shit, that's that guy who I've talked to on Twitter. Oh shit, it's that you kind of meet up for drinks with people, and you kind of just kind of grow that sense of community that's already exists. But hopefully we can kind of perpetuate that and keep it going. I think I think that's fun. And like I said, hopefully at some point it turns into a thing where Mike and I can go around doing that for a living.
No, that'd be awesome, man. And that seems like a perfect place to stop. I don't want to keep you too long and everything, but I do really appreciate you taking.
You don't want to keep us too long. We're keeping you up.
Yeah, you're the one that's
2 in the morning, man.
Late at night.
I'd happily stay up way into the early hours to chat to you guys. I really appreciate you making the time.
Thank you, man. This is cool.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast and stuff. I've just got a Dwight Yoakam compilation LP and a Sturgill Simpson's Cutting Grass 2 LP. So
Nice.
I'm forward to spinning them tomorrow morning. Are you guys spinning anything, or you had any new music pickups recently?
Ooh. I'm waiting on Jay, that guy who's writing. So like the shipping costs from the States usually on records it's super fucking expensive. So what he did is he got me the Kentucky Blue versions of both Cutting Grass Volume 1 and 2, and then he got me the red Arlo McKinley, his first record, the red Cincinnati Red vinyl. And so he's got all those, and he's sending those up to me here right away. So I'm pretty excited to get those. And I also just ordered Bella White's record and got Nick Shoulders. I got Nick Shoulders' first one and the second one coming in the mail too.
I've got that on pre-order, The Home on the Rage.
Nice. Yeah, same. That's what I got coming in the mail. So just waiting on those.
For me, I don't think I have any exciting vinyl shipments in, but I've been listening to a lot of 49 Winchester. Again, I just think that's a band that if people hear them, they're gonna like them, and they're just bound to be take off. So 49 Winchester, I guess I have their CD, but I guess new discoveries for me, I don't know.
Two that I've been streaming this week are, this is a really good one. Where the hell was because there's two, there's Cassie, this week, these were recommendations from people on Patreon. Cassie, I'm going to butcher her last name. Cassie Valaza. Yeah, she's awesome. And then, who else was I just like? Oh, Carson Jeffrey, who I'm a big fan of, and I want to get on the show, actually. He's great. He's from Texas. And then, what was the third one that I was just jamming earlier? Go ahead, Mike. I'll think of it.
I'll shout out. I've been digging into Parker Ryan's EP too. Young kid from Texas. Tristan Mraz has some new music out. That's pretty good. Cole Chaney, obviously, he had Elbow Creek come out, and more to come. I mean, if you
Emily
don't know who Cole Chaney is, I mean,
that's the name of it. I think. I
think people need to write down Cole Chaney's name and then just remember it, because it's gonna be something here soon. But yeah, that's pretty much, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect place to wrap, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and thank you, man. I'm looking forward to everything. But cool, and that is episode 35 of Into the Van, Into the Bag. Please go check out the Hippies and Cowboys podcast if you have not listened to it yet. There is a wealth of phenomenal artists there, and they are one of the podcasts that inspire me to keep going, because they are fighting the good fight over in the States, and I think we should do the same over in the UK with Rogue Radio, Rogue Country, and Into the Van. And that is all down to you guys listening. So keep on supporting what you love, keep on sharing what you love, and keep on doing what you love. Peace, guys. Till next time.